need to say something, I'll unmute and let you know.
Sounds good. Here we go. We're going to go live. Well, I might as well talk during this because we've got, we're just waiting for the stream to stabilize. Thanks everybody for joining in. We've got quite a few folks. Say hi in the chat. We'll get started here shortly, and about 30 seconds out. Hey everybody, welcome to Hubitat Live. I'm Patrick Stuart, and with me tonight are Bruce Ravenel, Chuck Schwer, and Mike Maxwell. Guys, do me a favor, introduce yourselves, because this is Hubitat.
You didn't say you were going to do that, Patrick.
I know, I just threw it on you. We're going to have a lot of fun tonight. We've got a great and amazing team here. We're going to talk about Hubitat, and I wanted to just jokingly throw that out there, but we are joined by two of the founders of Hubitat. It's exciting to have you guys on this first show. It's a lot of fun. So we do have Bruce. Say hi, Bruce.
Hi, everybody.
And then we got Chuck.
Hello.
We got him to say something. All right.
Yes.
We will get Chuck to hopefully throw out at least one Simpsons reference tonight. And then of course, Mike Maxwell. This is kind of a full circle for us, Mike. We started a show together a long time ago called Live Code Fridays. And it was kind of reminiscent. I was talking to Bruce earlier this afternoon to see if he'd join us, and just wanted to kind of, before we really kick off the show, I wanted to kind of reminisce. The last time Bruce and I and Mike were on a show, it was a little show we did called Live Code Fridays, and Bruce was grateful enough to come on and talk about an exciting piece of software he had written for another platform called Rule Machine. And Rule Machine was one of those things that when I first saw it, I was just kind of, Mike had said, hey, you need to check this out. And I had looked at it and I hadn't really played around with it a lot. And sincerely, I installed it live on the show. And what happened was I had this moment when I realized this changes everything. And it was really cool. It was really exciting to have it. And Bruce was grateful enough to talk about it. And the whole thing just kind of blew up from there. And I want to say thanks, Bruce, for creating Rule Machine. And
yeah, it actually worked that night live.
Yeah. I remember, I think it was a contact sensor or a motion sensor, and having my wife open up a door or something like that. And, there it was, not through writing code, but writing rules through clicking and pointing, or pointing and clicking, I should say. That to me was a game changer. That's when I realized at this consumer level, we were able to create rules and not have to write code. And here we are, more than 3 years later. Hubitat is born, and we're pretty much ready to celebrate the birth of Rule Machine 3.0. So we're excited to announce that's going to be launching in the 2.0.9 version that's going to be rolling out here very shortly. Bruce, do you want to say anything about kind of the changes that have gone on with Rule Machine 3.0, or?
Well, sure. I'd actually like to do a brief demo of it.
Sure. Please.
Let's do that. This is all prompted, by the way, from feedback in the community about different parts of Rule Machine that people thought were clunky and difficult to use. And I ended up agreeing with those comments and undertook to kind of revamp the user interface of Rule Machine to make it much more friendly. So let's take a look here. This is probably familiar to any of you that use Rule Machine. Well, where'd it go?
It's live. That's a great.
All right, we'll create a new rule. If you've used Rule Machine at all, you've seen some changes to the way conditions are defined and the way rules are set up. those have been streamlined quite a bit. So we'll just quickly put something on here just to create a rule. All right, so now I have a condition and a simple rule. Now the rule 3.0 completely reworks the way actions are defined. Now to quickly show you the way that whole thing, this is going to look totally different than what you're used to, although it's similar from a UI perspective to the way conditions and rules are set up. So now we're going to select the kind of action we want, and we have a list of available actions here. These are all of the, there's like 69 or 70 of them, I think. And you pick a group, and then within that group, you pick a specific kind. So here's a bunch of things you can do to switches, a bunch of things we could do to dimmers, etc. We can do all sorts of things to bulbs. So we could pick a bulb we want to set the color of. Pick one called Ruby, pick a color, and maybe optionally I could put a level on it. And now I've got my first action for true. I could go back and edit it. Let's say I wanted 75 instead of 55. And now I've edited that action. Now I can add more actions. And basically what I'm doing is I add actions to this is I'm creating a script that's going to run when this rule runs. And so, which is quite different than the way Rule Machine previously worked. It before would just sort of run every action you had in some arbitrary order, and many users wanted to know what that order was. Well, now you're completely in control of the order in which these things happen. And I could go back and I can add another set color. This was not possible before. You could only have one of each thing, and you had to get everything you wanted in that one action. But now you can have as many as you want of each one, and you can set them up each however you want.
You know what the next request for this is going to be? Oh, I messed up the order of these. Can I reorder them, please?
Well, you can.
Okay.
And you can do it because you can go in and you can delete actions. So I'm going to delete that. Let's delete the very first one I did. Boom, it's gone. And now I can insert actions. So I could insert before the garage. I can go put a new one in its place. It's some other action, activate a scene. So yeah, I can rework this list to get it in whatever order I want it to be in. Now there's some other features that we've added to this. Let's go back and edit this one action. Now there can be a delay for each action. Each action gets its own delay in hours, minutes, and seconds. So I could put in, well, I'll put in 99 seconds for grins. It knows that's a minute and 39. Cancel on truth change if I want. And now that one's going to be delayed. So each and every action has its own delay. Which is sort of nice. I could even add in a delay that slows everything down, sort of a pause, if you will. I can put delay actions in, and this is going to pause all of the actions, pause that entire script. Oh, heck, I'll make it random. So we get a random pause at this point, and then we could add more actions after that pause.
So, Bruce, a quick question. The delays that you're inserting, those are delays between the next set of commands that execute, right?
No, these are delays on that particular action.
Okay.
So as I execute this script, what's going to happen is I'm going to activate new purple scene a minute and 39 from now, where now is when this rule runs. And then I'm going to lock the garage door an hour from when the rule runs.
Okay.
Then I'm going to immediately set the color of this a color bulb. And then I'm going to stop everything for 2 minutes. So each action, you can think of everything happening at one time, but in this order, and those delays are happening on each individual action.
That's really cool.
Now there's some other cool new things. Conditional actions. I can stick an if, a simple conditional action. Let's pick a contact sensor and say the front door. So I'm basically, if the front door is open, I want to do something. And I'll set a light, turn on the bar. The front door opens, I'm going to turn on the bar.
Right to the bar.
Yep.
So if the front door is open, which it's not, it shows me that it's not open, I'll dim the bar to 88. So that's a simple conditional action, but we didn't stop there. We can go even further. We can put in if then else's in this script. If the garage door is opening, now I'll add another action to show you what happens. Turn on the garage lights. So if the garage door is active, that's a multi-sensor on the garage door. It'll turn on the lights. I could add to that an else part if I wanted, or else if, or I could just end the conditional. I could add else, and now add some other actions. How about I turn off those lights?
So this is really taking multiple rules that most people had to do and now putting them all into one.
Well, we still have actions for true and actions for false. So I'm still going to be able to evaluate a rule and then decide, what to do when that rule runs. Now, for a lot of users that came from using web core, this will be sort of familiar to them because in web core you could do something similar. You could have conditional actions, you could have if then else, etc.
Cool. Well, we got a question, and by the way, everybody, thanks for your comments and joining us in the chat. We got a question from Turk in the forums. He asked, "Will the new rule machine require that we remove our existing rule machine and add the new one, or can they exist both together while we migrate rules?"
So all of the existing rules that you have will still work, and you can still edit them. But when you go to add a new rule, it's going to be a rule 3.0, not a rule 2.5. I want to show you something. This is actually happening on my own system in my own house. Huh?
And just say one thing. A lot of people out there don't believe that you developed Rule Machine on the hub.
Well, all this stuff is developed on my home hub while it's controlling my house. So let's just get out here for a second. I want to show everybody something about in answer to this question. So here's my rule machine for my house. It's got all sorts of rules. Most of them don't do anything very interesting, but if you'll notice, I have these rules. This is from a year and a half ago before Rule 2.5 came out. I've got mostly old rules, and I can still open one of those up and mess with it. It's still all there, just as it always was. It's actually running an older version of the child called Rule, and I've got Rule 2.5, I've got Rule 3.0. So it'll be just like this, except that when you go to create a new rule, it's going to give you a Rule 3.0, which is what we were just doing. So I hope that answers that question.
I think so.
So anyway, you'll have a lot of fun playing around with Rule 3.0. It's got a lot of new features. It's got repeat, where you can have a conditional repeat, which is sort of like you can do a for statement where you repeat n times. You can do a while statement. While the front door is open, do something and then stop doing it when the front door closes, etc. So I think that's enough of playing with this.
Perfect. Well, thank you, Bruce. That was great. It's a lot of fun to talk about this, and this show is going to be about every 2 weeks. So we're gonna show off different things about the hub and what you can do with it, and really kind of hit that. Let's move on to a segment that I'm really excited about, Mike. We've got a really fun thing. We're going to call Mike's unboxing of a random device. So Mike, are you ready to jump in and do this here?
Yeah, I sure am.
A little bit of background. Mike is kind of in charge of our drivers and integrations and what have you. He gets shipped and sent and orders all kinds of different devices. And so he's got another camera here we're gonna set up here, and he's gonna unbox a device live here and take a look at it. Take it away, Mike.
Alrighty, so we're on the wrong camera, aren't we?
Yeah, I'm gonna pin it. Hang on one second. Go ahead. Oop. There we go.
Yay! Yep. So what do we got here? Of course, I already know. I cheated this time. I already know what this is. I've already got one. I actually have 3 of these in production, but it's a relatively new device.
Ooh.
And there it is. Philips Hue outdoor motion sensor.
Interesting. Okay.
So let's get it open up. I actually had to buy another one that wasn't already unboxed. So in the typical Philips fashion, there's more plastic than product.
Well, and the product itself is plastic too, right?
Yep. So let's see. We got instructions. Throw those out. Here's the device.
Nice.
Yeah. Then got this sort of brackety widget thing, which I'll go over in a second. And we've got this little guy. And it doesn't take long to figure out that this thing goes back in here like that. And then you screw this in. So it's like, well, what do you do with this? All right, so let's go see what else we got. We got a little bag of screws. Now, one thing I was curious about was, are these stainless steel? Because this is an outdoor sensor. And they're not. That's a little disappointing, but needless to say. So
Mike, you need to explain, a magnet on stainless steel will not attract, right?
That is correct.
So
that is correct, science fans.
Just wanted to be clear.
All right, so let's take a look at what this bracket thing is for here. So when you look at this bracket, right, it goes on the back, so you can surface mount it, right? You'd put your screw through this guy right here, screw it right to the wall, right? So that's what that part's for. And this guy's kind of interesting. Put this little screw in there, and you put this little screw in there. So this kind of goes together like that. Now you've got this crazy sort of bracket. You can spin this around. It's got nice little detents in there. And this is like if you wanted to mount it on a corner.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Oh, very nice.
Yep. So you can mount it in a corner, right? Like that. So you'd mount it right in the corner of a wall, or you can mount it on a column on your porch or something. So I've actually used one of these brackets on the front of my house. So that's pretty cool.
So
I mean, it's big, but
obviously, in later things, we'll try to pair it up with Hubitat. But since you already have 3 of these, you like it, right?
Yep. Well, we'll get to the bunny hop review. He's going to give us a hop count, right? We're going to get carrots for this at the end. So the only other thing I wanted to do with this was open this thing up here so you guys can see what this looks like from the inside.
Oh, wow. We're going above and beyond here, Mike.
Well, yeah, no, I mean, you got to figure out where the batteries are. What's that?
Where'd that warranty?
No, the batteries are in here.
Oh, okay.
And, this is actually a really nice device. I mean, yeah, it's $50. But
Hey, Mike,
I mean,
the folks in the chat room have already found your mug rather humorous. So
just give me a second to get these screws out. So,
which, by the way, is exactly Mike's personality.
yeah.
Yes, it's extremely accurate.
Yes.
So, for people that are kind of like into mechanical engineering, there's some subtleties to this device that most people probably don't appreciate, but these screws are captive. So when you take them out, they don't go flying all over next week. So they actually stay in there.
Oh, that's nice.
Yep. All right, there we go. So now we can see in the inside of it. So there's our batteries.
Those AAAs?
Yeah,
Okay.
AAA batteries. There's gaskets. Like I said, there's gaskets around the screws, so it's waterproof. There's also, which you can't see here, but there's an embedded gasket that goes all the way around this.
Mhm.
So, I mean, this thing is, I don't know what the technical rating for it is. I mean, I'm sure it wouldn't survive in your bathtub or your toilet, but as far as being outside goes, it's pretty good.
There goes my idea of an underwater motion sensor for my pool.
Right? So, this thing is, from a functional perspective, like I said, I've already deployed 3 of these in my house. It pairs up with our existing Hue motion driver, right? Which is the same one this little guy uses. It's extremely sensitive, and it also has lux, just like the other one. So this is one of the few sensors that, does lux reporting, one of the very few, and it does it at values that you can actually use. Like this thing was putting out like 6,000 lux when the sun was on it.
Oh, wow. Nice.
I mean, anything higher than that, it's all sunglass territory anyway. One thing I did notice though, which was kind of annoying, is that the default motion timeout for this thing is 10 seconds. And for an outdoor application, that's a little problematic. So for folks that have these or have this one, right?
Yep.
The new driver in platform version 2.0.9 has got a setting where you can change the timeout all the way up to like 5 minutes or something like that.
Oh, wow.
So when you crank that down a little bit, and that reduces a lot of the false detection that you can get. Or you can use our built-in app that put 2 of these together and do some false motion protection. But they're nice looking, right? Yeah, it's $50, but Philips makes pretty good stuff.
Awesome.
So
Well, thanks for the unboxing there, Mike. We're going to do another unboxing here. One of the things that we're going to be doing is and really thank Bruce for showing off Rule Machine 3.0, but we're going to start from scratch here with Hubitat. And over the next couple episodes here, we're going to go ahead and I'm going to share out hopefully what will be my camera overlooking my my desk here. And that's a different camera. Wait for it. There it is. And this is always the fun part about it. So Bruce was grateful enough to send me a retail box that we're going to unbox Hubitat here live on the air. This is our new packaging. So some of you may have already had the old packaging, but this is our new packaging, which is what the hub comes with. But it's kind of exciting. But I'm going to go and we're going to literally just tear this open here. I've got a little spooger here because the shrink wrapping is very well done in the factory. Okay, we'll tear this off here. Do this live. But so this is actually going to become our Hubitat live show box. So we slide the sleeve off, set that down here, and what we've got in here is a nice turned edge box. It's a real nice clean white box, and of course on the inside we've got our wonderful user manual here. Set that like this. A little user manual tells you how to go through a few different steps there. I don't know if the camera will adjust that way, but set that aside. And then inside here, this is the actual hub. So if you're tuning in and you actually haven't seen a Hubitat hub. This is it. I'm gonna just put it in my hand. That's how small this thing is. It's really small. This is our model C5. It's got an Ethernet port and a USB port for power here. But that's it. That's all that is. And that is all running local from that side of things. So we'll get this hooked up. Inside the box underneath here is a USB cable, a power supply, and an Ethernet cable. For some of those, this is about a 1 meter cable, I believe, Bruce, right?
That's right.
For about 3.3 feet if you're playing at the conversion game. But I'm gonna set that aside, and I'm gonna go ahead and just show you how easy it is to get this hooked up and get going here. So let me move this out of the way, and I've got a little Ethernet cable and stuff right here. So we'll plug that Ethernet cable in first, important step, and then our USB power. And if everything works out correctly, in a few seconds, we should see this blue light turn on. I don't know if the camera is going to show that too well here, but this will boot up, and we'll go switch over to my desktop here, and hopefully I'll get back to our lovely little animation here. And the way you discover a new hub is you go to portal.hubitat.com. And we log in. I'm going to quickly log in. Of course, my password is not saved correctly. And you're going to see I have way too many hubs. But we're going to look for my new hub, which I think is probably this one. You can tell this is live because we literally, actually, we're going to have a different one. Let me see if this actually showed up here. Actually, here it is. It's probably this one right here.
You need to mention to the viewers that probably 30% of those hubs are fake.
This is true. I do a lot of testing and a lot of things. Most people are just going to see one hub. But for those playing at the home game, this light did turn green, so we know it's checking in. And actually, here it is. It's my new hub. I know the IP address is going to be different than my static ones. So I'm going to just click register hub here. We're going to do this live. Hopefully everything will work out stellar. And there we are. We're at the getting started. I just got to agree to the terms and conditions, which you can take a look at, scroll through all that fun stuff. We'll hit OK. We get a nice little tutorial. It tells you what's going on. And click through this stuff. And this is a great place to pause here for a second. You can join our community. We have a great community out there. And I see a lot of folks in the chat room from the community. Join us on Facebook. We also have an official Facebook group as well. But then when you get to here, all you got to do is type in a location name. And so we'll call this the Hubitat Live Hub, and throw in a postal code. This isn't required, but certainly can't hurt. And we're gonna save, and now that's it. That's how easy it is to register. Plug it into your network, plug in power, hit portal.hubitat.com, and we're there. And just in the interest of time, I'm just gonna give for some of the folks that might have seen Rule Machine to begin with, I'm gonna show you just a brief, quick tour of what we've got a menu here. We've got our devices, and we don't have any devices currently installed. We'll get to that in another episode. But apps, we don't ship with any apps pre-installed, so you get to choose what you want. And so you can click Add Built-in App here, and you'll see a whole list of integrations and different devices. And here's Rule Machine, by the way. So if you want to install Rule Machine, it's as simple as that. Rule Machine's done, installed, and now able to set up any kind of rules. Of course, you kind of need some devices. So I'm going to go back real quick and show you how quickly you can add something called virtual devices. I could pair up some real devices here, but I'm just going to go ahead and set up a virtual device, and we'll just call this a contact sensor. And I'm just going to give it a couple names here. We do need to give it a device network ID. That's just simply a way to uniquely identify the device in the system. And then our types here, we've got a whole bunch of drivers. These are all the built-in drivers, and I'm going to select a virtual contact sensor. And I'm going to save that device, and it's going to add it to the system. And then what I'll have is a device that essentially has a contact open or close. And later on, we'll use this to show you what the system can do. But that's how simple it is to just set up a test system. We'll actually use some real devices and what have you. It'll be fun. But I'll go into settings real quickly. You can actually check your hub details. You can actually turn on some hub login security, so you can actually password protect your hub on your local network if you want to. In another section is locations and modes. This defines where your hub is located. And a couple other options like 24-hour time versus 12-hour time, the current system times and what it's calculated for sunrise and sunset, and modes, which is a whole nother topic we'll get into someday, but we ship with 4 default modes: day, evening, night, and away. And those can be used in any kind of rules or logic. Let me go back to settings here and I'll show you a couple other things. There's some Zigbee and Z-Wave details. The ability to check for updates, which is a good thing after you've registered your hub, to go ahead and just make sure that you're on the latest version. And you can see that there's actually an update available for this hub. This was actually one of our retail hubs. So when you get it, it actually has some software on. That's actually a relatively new change for us. Before you had to download the software. Now they ship with a version of software on there, so you don't have to do that. And so that's exciting. Last 2 things I want to show. Well, you can reboot and shut down your hub, but we actually ship with the ability to back up and restore your hub. So if you wanted to actually take a download of a clean hub, with just Rule Machine installed and a device, all I got to do is click on that, and then I could restore that backup at any time. So it's a great way to kind of make sure your hub is clean and fresh. We do have the ability to add your own app code and drivers codes, which is kind of neat. We've got so many great community developers out there that are porting or writing their own code to be able to put on this system. Last 2 areas I want to talk about are the system events. You can see that this hub started up here. That's a location event. It's also a hub event, so it's going to show up in both. But things like sunrise and sunset and various other things that happen are going to show up in system events. And then we have something called live logging. Now, if you notice here, obviously there's nothing going on in the system. It's a brand new system. But if I come in here to the contact sensor and I believe debug, yep, it's currently open. I'm going to click close. And you can see in real time, we're going to log that information out. We also have the option to show past logs, which will show you all the stuff that's been happening. This goes back about a day. That's a brief introduction of our test system. We set up a virtual device. We did some fun things. But later on in other shows, we're gonna talk about all kinds of really cool things you can do with Hubitat from that side of things. But we are at about our time limit here. So let's shift over to our Q&A here. I know we've got a couple different questions from the forum, from the site here, or yeah, from the YouTube listener viewers here. So let's see. We've got a question from Tony. Thank you. Will a series of videos be available to view after the live broadcast? Yeah, absolutely. So this video will be saved and you'll be able to watch it later. We're also going to slice up some of these segments and put them in their own videos. And we're also going to take this video and we're going to convert it into a podcast format as well. And we're going to syndicate that through the different podcast channels. So you'll be able to take care of that as well. I know there's a lot of people out there asking about, is there an Android or an iOS app? And the answer is yes, there will be. We're currently in testing on that. And so we're really excited about getting that out here as soon as possible. We've got a few little bugs we've got to fix, and we'll be progressively expanding our beta testing and hopefully get that out shortly. So I know another question from G192A. When is Rule Machine 3 going to be released? It's going to be released in the 2.0.9 software update, which should be honestly at any time, right, Chuck?
Yeah, anytime.
Anytime.
Yeah, we're in final testing. So don't be surprised if you see it in 1 or 2 days.
Yeah, we're excited. It should be, yeah, it should be in the next day or so. We're busy just trying to button that up and get it going. So I think let's see, we had Daniel Marcotte asked, he missed the beginning, but it looks like WebCore is finally, quote, coming to Hubitat with more complex rules. Am I right? I think Bruce, you answered that earlier, but yeah, I think we're seeing parity, if not some significant improvements from our standpoint in the fact that it executes in a much more efficient manner. And certainly building the rules is a lot more simple. So if you missed it, watch the replay and you'll be able to see what Bruce was doing with how you can write conditional logic, inside the different rules. Mikey3Y321 asked a question here. He said, "How often are Hubitat updates released?" Chuck, we've been averaging what, about every 2 to 3 weeks?
Yeah, right around that, 2 to 3 weeks.
Yeah, 209's kind of baking a little longer, but I think we're at the 3-week mark right now.
With Rule Machine 3, we needed more testing for that. Just wanted to make sure that everything was working. So this is going a little bit longer. We try to set it at 2 weeks and then just see where it goes.
Yeah, and so let's see. We got another question from Fergie Stuff. "Before switching away from SmartThings, I needed to randomly turn lights on and off. Is this possible?" Yeah, actually, Bruce, you showed Rule Machine having that random time frame, right?
Oh, you're on mute.
What I showed was a random delay. To make things actually completely random on and off, you'd have to get creative about it.
Okay. We got another question. This is a highly controversial topic. It was a question about locks. I think John Grish asked. He's been having issues with the Schlage Connect lock. Anything on that? Mike, you got any comments on locks? I know they're your favorite thing.
I do have a problematic one that a community member contributed to the cause, so that I can take a look at whether that will make 210 or not is TBD at this point. But I do have a problematic one from the community. Okay. This one doesn't, as far as I know, this one doesn't have a pairing problem, but it does take it does tend to leave the network for some unknown reason and not report properly. So that's the current one that I'm looking at.
Yeah, and Mike is constantly evaluating ways that we can be doing things better. There's actually a community member that wrote and the name eludes me at this time who actually wrote it, but it's called Reliable Lock. Well, I'm completely blank. This is the great thing about live is your IQ drops like 40%. You just forget literally everything you know. But yeah, it's it kind of enhances the robustness of things if you're having some problems too. You can check that out. Let's see, Marquis Dennis. I'm gonna brutalize your last name, so I apologize. Any reason to update to the newer hub where there's a hardware revision in your development roadmap? At this point, if you've got a C4 hub or even a C3 hub, if you're one of our early adopters, no, there really isn't. Of course, I would like to say there's a reason to have a second hub. If you do some development, what have you, we don't necessarily recommend that you do what Bruce does and write code on a production system and play around with it. It's perfectly fine to do it. It's just it's a lot easier, like me, to have an extra hub sitting around to play around with. So, and I'll just mention right now, we did run a sale here over Easter weekend. So right now in the U.S. and Canada, that's $89.95. We decided to extend that for the show. We're going to extend that through this weekend. So if you are looking to pick up a new C5 hub in the US or Canada, go to Hubitat.com, order that up, and you can certainly grab that. So let's see if we can answer a few more questions here before we get out. And yeah, so Bruce just mentioned that the new hardware is essentially the same. It's the same CPU, memory, and storage. The only real difference is the internal versus external radios. Joe Wetzel wrote the Schlage lock or the reliable lock code manager there. Mike Zulu Foxtrot asked if can you mesh two hubs? Yeah, actually you can. We've got a built-in Hub Connect software where you can actually connect them back and forth. And in fact, one of our community members, it was SR White, right? He wrote the Hub Connect software that also create some more capabilities too. So we've got a built-in app that can do that, and then there's a community app that can do that as well. You can connect multiple SmartThings or multiple hubs. You can connect to SmartThings and bring your SmartThings devices into Hubitat as well. And it's they they're created as virtual devices between the different the hubs. So you can write your logic and everything on one hub, and then kind of split it out between other hubs. I think we're wow, that should not have come through. Oh, this is my wife. I muted my phone, but I was scary when that happens. It comes through here. So I think that's about it for this show tonight. I really appreciate everybody in the chat room for coming out and talking about it. Our next show is going to be 2 weeks from now. If you missed anything, please watch the replay here on our YouTube channel or subscribe to the podcast. We'll be getting it up here shortly. It's not up yet because, well, we needed a show to create the podcast. But it'll be up at live.hubitat.com probably this weekend. And as always, you can join us in the community.hubitat.com or our official Facebook group. Again, thanks to Bruce, to Chuck, to Mike for joining us tonight. And if you want to be a guest on Hubitat Live, drop me a note in the community or email me at patrick@hubitat.com. Before we go, Mike, I want to know, what's the verdict on that Hue outdoor motion sensor?
Well, we're supposed to cut back over to it so I can give you, the carrot count, but Dev Bunny rates it 4 out of 5 carrots. It gets 4 out of 5 carrots.
4 out of 5 carrots. There you go.
Yeah.
Well, again, thank you very much, everybody. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.